Whoa, 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 before you click off of this video, there's something important that you guys need to know. There's a very good chance that we could be seeing some strong tornadoes tomorrow in portions of the deep south in the United States. So if you live over there, or if you know anyone that lives over there, please be advised. With our outlook from the Storm Prediction Center here today, we didn't really have a whole lot of activity in general, with just some thunderstorms every now and then across portions of the United States. But tomorrow, oh boy, tomorrow there is definitely the chance for some strong, severe thunderstorms. We have a level 3 over here in the portions of the deep south, an enhanced risk of severe weather across portions of Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and extreme southwestern Tennessee. They do indeed have a chance to produce some strong tornadoes, as you can see within this yellow area and the kind of black lines, the black hashes that are in the middle of it too. That is indicative of some strong tornadoes that are possible. That is EF2 or higher across portions from Memphis down into Jackson, into Monroe, Louisiana. So folks over there definitely need to watch out. And of course, we will be live here on this YouTube channel. And one thing to note as well is that this will also include a strong damaging wind risk that will extend even further east into Alabama. So folks that are even in Tuscaloosa may need to watch out as well. And then eventually, as this moves off onto Sunday, we also have the threat for some strong, severe weather that could exist along the coastline as well. So definitely something to note as that moves on through. So if you couldn't tell by now, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome to another weather forecast discussion, this time for February 14th, 2025. Now, we have other things to talk about besides the tornado risk. We'll get into the specifics of where and when that'll occur here very, very shortly. But we want to talk about what's generally happening between now and then, and even what could happen afterwards as well. So let's take a look at the models, shall we? Let's move on through, and we can see that we have some rain and snow on the western half of the United States. In the higher elevations of the Cascades, as well as the Sierras, we are definitely seeing a lot of heavy snow, and of course some rain that is much needed across portions of Southern California. There is the chance for some flash flooding over there as well, so please be careful. Keep in mind that if you see a flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown, don't drive in it. But as this continues to move on through, you can see we're going to start to see some snow develop in the Great Lakes and a lot of rain. Keep in mind, all right? A lot of rain, all right? I'm going to emphasize this one more time for you. A lot of rain that is going to exist across portions of the deep south all the way over into the Ohio River Valley. This is going to continue to be the case for quite a long time. I mean, look at this. Almost an entire day goes by and you continue to see a lot of heavy rain. The snow, however, starts to shift off a bit further east into New England, as well as portions of Ontario and Quebec. This is going to basically dump a good foot of snow across most of those areas over there, and our severe threat continues to linger as it moves on through from Saturday night into Sunday morning before it finally pushes off, moves off along the coastline to where we could potentially see some severe weather there. In the meantime, there is another storm that is going to be developing along the backside over here in the Pacific Northwest. That is going to, of course, continue to bring rain and snow in higher elevations in areas further east away from the Cascades, but this is going to kind of move on through into the central United States. You can see that we have this giant band of snow that's just racing from Idaho all the way down into Iowa, and then we start to see that form into this big blob, this big mess, this big storm that is probably going to move on through across the mid portions of next week. We're looking here from Tuesday into Wednesday. We've got a lot of heavy snow across the Central Plains, and we have the potential for some more severe weather here in the Deep South. And this will continue to move along the Gulf Coast all the way through up into the Carolinas. We could potentially be seeing as well a further extension of this system to try and move up the coastline and become a nor'easter. We have a lot of snow, a lot of freezing rain that is going to try and develop over here in the mid-Atlantic, according to this model. We will see if this actually is going to be accurate. What usually happens with winter weather events such as this, the models start to kind of change very frequently as we get closer and closer to an event. So let's see how this model continues to pinpoint what this storm does. But for right now, there's a very good chance that we could be seeing a nor'easter right after our storm that's going to be impacting the United States this weekend. So something to note, and this will continue to move on through from Wednesday into Thursday, probably all the way into Friday as well before that storm starts to move off into open waters. Now, this is going to basically give us a good idea as to how much snow could fall over the span of 48 hours. As we move on from Saturday night into Sunday and even into Monday, our storm continues to move on through. A lot of snow that's going to basically drop down near Lake Ontario all the way up into portions of Quebec as well as the Northeast. So definitely something to watch out there. And then a lot of snow over here in the Cascades is going to start to fall as well. So definitely a good sign of snow that is going to come over the weekend. And then look at that, right immediately in the middle of next week, Tuesday into Wednesday, a good bit of snow over here in the Central Plains into the Ozarks. We got some areas that could potentially see over 6 inches of snow possible, so definitely something to watch out for with that. And then as this kind of moves on through from Thursday into Friday, you can see the Euro really likes snow. Really likes snow. I mean, we're talking about a foot to maybe even a foot and a half. Maybe some localized areas could get 2 feet of snow. That is definitely something that is going to be really interesting to see if that changes. Once again, the models change as we get closer and closer to the event, and of course, we'll let you guys know if there's anything that changes with that. But right now, the signal says that there very well could be a pretty impactful storm in the middle part of next week. I talked about the rain, all right? I said there's going to be a lot of rain. You probably got tired of me saying that, but with a lot of rain comes the flooding risk with it as well. And we have to mention here, there is a crap ton of rain that falls over this small area. We're talking about almost 6.5 inches of rain. It very easily could be higher than that. And we also have to consider that runoff is a thing. Rain that falls in the higher elevations starts to travel down to the lower elevations into creeks and streams and rivers. That's how you start to get your flooding risk. So if you're in a low-lying area that is flood prone, you definitely need to be able to monitor that situation. Of course, pay attention to the National Weather Service as these storms move on through. Now, another thing that I want to mention as well, a lot of rain over here in the Pacific Northwest as well. I mean, I'm sure you guys are pretty much used to that. I mean, rain, it doesn't go away, so it's going to just come back another day, if you know what I mean. And that'll continue to be the case off and on all the way through probably into spring. I mean, as I said, you guys kind of know the basic gist of it. I'm just here to let you guys know that there's just more of it coming. Dust statements, I know. Moving on through, that'll head over into our risk here for the middle of next week, and we still get a lot of rain, except this is now going to be into portions along the Gulf Coast, all the way into the Carolinas, and then that'll continue to be the case as the nor'easter, if it becomes a nor'easter, continues to shovel itself up further and further along the coastline. Now, something to keep in mind here as well, as we start to shift into the more specific analysis of our video, we're going to be talking about what makes tomorrow's event really tick. There's a lot of storms that can try and basically form, but why is that? Well, if we take a look at our bulk shear here, this is the difference between 0 kilometers and 6 kilometers above ground level. This is basically going to tell us as to if the wind shear favors sustained thunderstorms that could turn into supercells. Basically, what I want you guys to do is this. We're going to watch this open area here as our trough pushes on through and moves out of the southwestern portions of the United States. If you start to see orange and red, especially red, develop in this general area of where the circle is, then that is basically a telltale sign as to whether or not you guys can get strong storms that could develop into supercells. So here you go. We have our trough that's digging on through. You can tell it's a trough because the jet stream dips down and out just like that. That'll continue to move on through further and further east. By the time we get into late Saturday morning into the early Saturday afternoon hours, we have some areas over here that have green. We have some orange. We have some red. But this is the general open warm sector right here. And if we want to be able to see if there's going to be severe weather, it can't just come from the cold front. It definitely can, but for a strong tornado event, you need some of the storms that are out in this open area to be able to try and, aforementioned, do something with it. So, Let's go ahead and watch. Let's see what happens here as we get into the late afternoon, early evening. Boom. We're already seeing that transition from oranges to reds, even deeper into browns. This is definitely a favorable environment for some sustained supercell activity. And realistically speaking, there is a very good chance that our tornado event will go from the dusk hours all the way through into the night hours. This is likely going to be a nocturnal tornado threat, which means that some of these tornadoes could occur during when people could sleep. All right. So please keep in mind that this stuff could happen in this general area. It could be late in the evening as this continues to move on through into the overnight hours. Make sure you have a way to get warnings. If you have a weather radio, make sure to turn that on, get new batteries in it, and make sure that on your phone you have emergency alert notifications on for if the National Weather Service issues a warning near your area. Now, one thing that I also want to mention here is that with the strong wind shear that is going to be moving on through, so we already determined that the storms are really going to start to get in gear sometime in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening hours. But I also want to talk about the moisture. And when you start to see dew points get pretty high, we're talking about mid to upper 60s, even in the 70s, that is when you know that you have a pretty robust open warm sector that is kind of available for storms to try and take advantage of it. And we definitely have that. We have quite a bit of moisture available across the areas where that level 3 out of 5 is at. Now, one thing that I do want to pay attention to, at least when we're talking about the severe weather, is a lot of the energy and where that energy could be coming from, as well as how much there could be for these thunderstorms to try and become robust. Basically, what we're looking at is buoyancy, and buoyancy helps these thunderstorms become really powerful in a sense to where you have a lot of energy with these thunderstorms. It could become, as I said, pretty robust. And so something to just watch out for as the energy comes from the Gulf and it starts to move off into the deep south. We have a good bit of it. I'll tell you what, we have about 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram in this open warm sector. So we definitely have enough energy over here. But I also want to try and kind of give you a general idea as to what these squiggly lines look like. They kind of almost look like extreme airheads or any sort of like rope candy that you may have ever had. But this basically tells you as to whether or not the wind is veering with height in the atmosphere. And so basically, if you see something like this, to where the pink starts to veer off to the right, the red continues to veer off more and more, and it turns to the right almost, that is an environment that is pretty favorable for tornadoes. So what you can do is you can combine both of them. You can take the wind, you can take the energy, smack it all together, and figure out where the main stuff is probably going to occur. And for right now, it seems as if the strongest activity is probably going to occur somewhere near the Mississippi River, maybe even a little bit further east of that, where portions of Oxford, Greenwood would be somewhere over there in Mississippi as that continues to move on through into the late night and the evening hours before eventually the energy does run out and it just becomes a little bit more of a gusty wind maker. So you can take the two of those, as I said, smack them all together, and you get this output. It's the Energy Helicity Index, or something called an EHI. And basically, this EHI can tell you as to where your main activity could occur. Now, don't pay attention to specifically where the main activity is. If there's, like, say, one of the highest values over a specific portion of the state, just know that it may not happen in that specific area, but the environment around it is pretty favorable. And so that could happen maybe, 50 miles north, south, east, west, wherever there could be similar conditions, or maybe even a little less conditions that are existing already. So as we move on through, we get into the 20Z time frame, which is about 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Move on through. This is 21Z. We're talking late afternoon, early evening. And boom, look at this. We have a band of storms that try to develop and become tornadic over here in the portions of northern Mississippi. There's also some that extend all the way down into central portions of Louisiana. So basically, we're going to have an entire line to really watch out for out in front of this cold front before things start to kind of become a little bit gusty and we start to talk about a QLCS tornado threat. So definitely something to watch out for in that sense. But it looks like, based off of the maximum potential of what this event could get, we're going to try and look for it to happen sometime in the late afternoon, early evening, into the overnight hours. And it more than likely will be across portions over here in northern Mississippi, extreme southeastern Arkansas, maybe even the portions of northeastern Louisiana and southwestern Tennessee. So let's go over everything by just going over the timings. We'll rerun through everything here just by looking at what the radar is telling us. This is early Saturday morning, and as this continues to move on through, we don't really have too many thunderstorms that develop. We have our warm front back over here and our cold front that is trying to develop. This cold front is eventually going to wipe out this entire event, and it'll kind of take over, if you will, after the storms have been trying to do stuff. But speaking of those storms, watch this area right here. All right, this is going to be something that is going to try and maybe even potentially become tornadic. And any one of these storms, if they become strong enough, definitely could, especially in that area in northern Mississippi. You have a couple of these storms that are already looking like a classic supercell. We have storms that are trying to hook down at the bottom on the southwestern side of the storm. And so this is definitely something to note. If any of these storms can do this, they definitely will produce tornadoes. But here's your cold front here, and this will kind of move on through and become a wind and tornado maker as well, but not as strong a tornadoes. If there are going to be tornadoes inside this line specifically, it'll mainly be quick spin-ups that'll last at least 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, is stretching it just a little bit. These aren't really going to be your long track tornadoes, if you will. It'll just be a lot of strong damaging winds, a lot of rain, of course, a lot of rain, and of course your winds, your tornadoes, all that stuff over there. So just the big thing to note is the storms out in front. What are the storms out in front going to do? Can they be able to take advantage of that environment? And if they do, as I mentioned, they are probably going to produce a few tornadoes, some of which could even be strong. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion, this briefing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like. That definitely helps me out a lot. It helps spread this information with as many people as possible. If you don't want to do that, that's fine too. Subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family if you can. Just try and get the word out that there is the potential for some strong, severe weather tomorrow. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Nate. Stay safe, everyone. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.